straight question. So ask me straight question. आज हम लोग बैठ जाएं. I'm sorry, I'm got to that age where I need to see. Somebody will have to coordinate who asks the questions, and you can ask anything freely.
I can help you for it.
Yeah.
You want me to?
Anybody can. Oh.
Yeah, somebody else.
I can do it.
Hi, my name is Darsh. I just have a very simple question. Do you have to be insane to make insane films?
I think, I don't know. I think you just have to be insane to do your own thing. Just find whatever you want to do in this sense. ऐसा कुछ नहीं. देखो.
Sorry, can I follow up on that?
Yeah.
Do you have to, like, all your films, everyone knows the genre that it is. Do you have to...
You're talking about, there are like different phases of me.
But like, have you lived through all of those experiences in some kind of metaphorically, or can those be...
No, I don't think so. It's not like that. We often make the mistake of thinking the film is the filmmaker. It's not true. There are various things that I interpret through my own experiences. For example, it's like if I am telling a story, it is my own level of awareness or my own level of knowledge, which can be enough, which might not be enough. That's how we interpret anything. And then what happens is there are people I go to. So every film is something that what you see is a film I've arrived at. Like I can say, for example, name a film and I'll tell you. So if we talk about, say, Vasipur, right? So I interpreted the story of Vasipur because we could not go to Jharkhand and could not go to shoot so many places. So I went back to where I came from. So I interpret Faisal's childhood through my own childhood. So it's the same thing. And then when we arrived at the film, there's a lot that got covered because I remember my first meeting with Varun was his song that I heard from another colleague of his senior from his IIT, Sumit. Sumit was a junior. Okay, Sumit had made me hear a song. Memory कैसा है? पिया, तार बिजली से पतले हमारे पिया. So तार बिजली से पतले हमारे पिया is a song that I wanted to use. The first thing that came into, that's how Varun also came into the film. And then the only thing with him is, I had seen Best of Youth. It's a movie, Italian movie, 2-part film. And what I liked so much about that film was how it tells the history of the country and the region through a personal tale. And that was the discussion, and it was like, can we tell the story of Bihar over the years through that song? So the part of the song is that song, actually, if you look down and ask him to interpret the song, it's very political. So it tells you the whole history of Bihar. So that journey, that's how it started. And that started seeping into the film, and we had a very long cut. So which is, like I said, I interpreted and made a thing, and then I go to people I look up to. I would do screenings. And there was a time I would stand outside my office and passers-by, I would stop. I said, "Kya kar rahe? Chalo apna film dikhate hain." And I would make them sit in the editing room and subject them through for 7.5 hours of torture of first cut. So, I would do that and take their feedback. And then I left the film with Vikramaditya Motwane. And I remember two people who were more tortured was my editor's assistant and my assistant, which was Gevan. And my Shweta's assistant and my editor was also at that time having a baby. So, and while she was editing Vasipur, Shweta Venkat. And I left the film entirely to Motwane to do whatever he wants. He cut down the 7.5 hour film to 4 hours, ruthlessly. I came back and I had a heart attack. I abused the shit out of him. I said, "How dare you do that?" He said, "This is what made sense to me. Rest I didn't understand." Then I started putting back my favorite parts back into the 4.5 hour cut. And that's how I found my film, because eventually it came down to 5 or 20 minutes. And everything I wanted was still there. So sometimes that's the exercise I do, because हमको नहीं दिखता. What I see in your film and I can help. Objectivity I'll have on your film, I don't have on my film. So it's not really, I arrive at a film with a lot of trials and things. I recently made a film and the first reaction of everyone was, wherever you sound like you're talking on Twitter, take it out. So that helped me find something. That's how it is.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Anurag. Big fan. In fact, I'd like to give you the credit for my and my boyfriend's relationship to have started, because it made sense, because we used to watch your films a lot. So I have two questions. I won't take a lot of time. First question is that in the last couple of years, we've seen that regional cinema has really, won people's hearts, and there are more people watching regional films than what they're watching, like a Bollywood film. In fact, the recent example is of Kantara. The film has blown people's minds, and it's been doing really well in terms of numbers as well. So, what do you think is lacking in Bollywood? Like, is it because we're not deeply rooted, or we're just trying to like escape a lot of real questions to be asked when we're making films? What could you possibly think?
No, the monopoly is over. No, that whole monopoly is done with. Of it's like how we look at Hollywood is because English language is more universal. They think Hindi has more bandwidth, is more universal, but it's not the truth. Now the cameras are accessible. Your camera has gone 4K to 6K to God knows where. You can find local actors. You don't need so many people to make a film. So regional voices will emerge. Likewise, it's very similar to what I say. The regional political parties will emerge. There's no center binding force in anything anymore. When people now know they can be heard, and somebody's asking me down there, I said, you can make a film from anywhere today, and that's where the strongest films will come from. Bollywood myth was never rooted.
Right.
It was always catering to a mass audience.
Right.
It was never rooted. There were some filmmakers who were rooted, but as an industry, it was never rooted, right from the beginning. So, and earlier the cameras were heavy. You had to go where the studios were.
Yeah.
So the early cameras in the 50s and 60s needed 5 people to move the camera. You go to Tashkent, they still have that studio, and when you see those lights, you can't use them anymore, and they're still the best lights. But the one light can light up a forest and create a moon source. But to move that, they need a truck and a crane and God knows how many people. That's how heavy equipments were then. So people made studios. Every filmmaker made studio for their own convenience. So to make a film, you had to go where the studios were. That was Pune, Calcutta, or Kolkata, or Mumbai, or Lahore. I'm saying that's where the studios were. So that's why people had to go there, and because the language in Mumbai was Hindi. Hello? The language in Bombay was, can you hear me? Yeah. The language in Bombay was Hindi, so even filmmakers from Bengal made films in Hindi. Bimal Roy made films in Hindi. Rishikesh Mukherjee made films in Hindi because they were making films in Bombay. When they moved to Kolkata, they found people, language jo jada hoti thi, that's what they started making films in. Most of the writers until 90s wrote in Urdu. So that's why that thing is now.
They can't hear anything.
We have to move this down. We move you forward in the meantime, or do you want to just
I can come there. Then I'll stand there and watch it. I'm saying it is all about where the resources were. Now resources have come to the person. But regional cinema will become.
यहाँ नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है बात
They don't even live in Bangalore or Harvard. Where he comes from, and they make the film.
कहानी सुना दो तो हाँ वही बोल दो कोई कहानी सुना दो कैसे आए यहाँ यहाँ पे अभी
मैं पहाड़ों में नहीं आता था तो मैं बहुत पहले मैंने एक पूरा लैंडस्लाइड देखा मैं गाड़ी के साथ रोड भी नदी में मेरे रोड पे ट्रैवल करना
Repeat my question. Like I said, that there's been a noticeable change in you being a director and now you being like a full-fledged producer where you're producing more films than what you're directing. So how do you choose those films? And as someone who's been doing, film production for the last almost a decade now, how would you inspire young producers in terms of what kind of films you should choose to produce?
I can't tell people what to choose. I'll tell you
Just
simple.
inspire.
No, it is, see, a lot of things happen accidentally, right? I love cinema, and I came in at a time when cinema was controlled by, there were no studios even, right? There was a phase when the studios came in, which was early 2000. Then there was a phase studios find a way of working with filmmakers and started paying them less money by turning filmmakers into producers. That was the phase when all of us became producers because studios made us producers by saying that let's have a partnership and let's make the film at this cost. That's when I became a producer, accidentally with Amir. And then we did Udan. Udan was a full-fledged film production and things like that. So what happened was, because working outside the system, because of Black Friday, because of Devdi or Gulal we made over the years, because nobody believed in us. So I understood that this industry is very resistant to change, any industry is, right? So it's the films that made people start to come to me. It was Satya, Black Friday, it was because of the kind of cinema that I had affinity to. So I didn't go looking for it, it started looking for me. And I did not have a bandwidth. I was a filmmaker who just wanted to keep making films. So I created a space which was 40 Aram Nagar, which was do as you please. The editing setup, it was always like, if you can use me to go out and raise money and make a film honestly in a low cost that one can return later on, go out and do it yourself. It wasn't really about, I started to do it like that. I would just sit on their edits or scripts to give them my opinion, help them with the actors, things that I could be useful of because I was constantly making movies. So I was constantly making movies, and over a period of time I realized that because of the finances involved, because of sometimes what happens is I'm not a finance person. I do not know how to handle money. So the best way I can deal with people who are only interested in profit and investment is, okay, listen, what? Let's do a deal. You don't pay me anything, I don't put in any money. If I like the film, I will help you. And I do that for free. I will enable you release your film. You can use my name as a presenter. I started trusting few people, few producers. So I would tell those producers and they would bring the films to me. So because I wanted to stay away from, I have taken a lot of consequences of other people being greedy, other people doing cheating someone else, other people doing something that went wrong. The consequences are always mine. And those consequences pushed me so much in the background, I decided to step away from it. So I stopped producing. I set up spaces that get produced. I can tell people how to do it. I can be a great mentor. But barring that, I don't take on any responsibility. I can give solutions to problems based on experience of dealing with censor board, based on experience of dealing with resistance, based on experience of dealing with various platforms. So I have a lot of experience. From that experience, I can give you solutions. I can offer solutions. Sometimes those solutions might not work today. But I am just an enabler. So in the sense, if I really like a film, then I will lend my name to it. And I will find young producers who can use it well. So that's what I have been doing for some years. And I can't do any of those things if I don't. And I've always been a commercial filmmaker. I was never an art house filmmaker. I loved art house film, but I'm not. I have these stories to tell which are very commercial in nature. That's what I grew up on. And that's what I make, and I have to make sometimes bigger films in order to help smaller films. I can't do both. I can come here and enjoy every film and it may move me. I'll never go back and make them. I will still go back and make a film that is high on sound design and stylization and everything, because that's how I'll survive and that's how I can help others survive. So that's the way I hope it answers.
Projecting your feelings, your ideas, and what you feel inside sometimes, no? For a subject or for a movie or something else. So, what challenges you actually face when you don't think you are actually able to present that on screen?
See, I don't know. The very first line I will say I disagree with that. Cinema or films or literature or music or everything is what the creator decides. Whether it's projecting or it can be absolute trash also. That's why I keep fighting against censorship, in the sense, we also become so elite and morally superior as an artist sometimes that we start looking down on other things. Everybody has a right, somebody has a right to make a very bad film also, as much as we have a right to make a good film. So I don't think so that cinema, any kind of a definition should be limited to one line or two lines. So it's nothing. Now, when it comes to me, sometimes yes, whatever I'm going through finds its way onto the film. It finds it through its character, so sometimes it's unfiltered. So it entirely depends. Yes, every film of mine, you can see what I was going through that phase, something or the other. My earlier films were angry because I was a very angry person. And then I became sarcastic. And now I'm nihilistic. And my Twitter is gone. So nothing. And like Javed Saab used to famously say, एक दिन आता है बेटा जब आप ह्यूमर ढूंढ लेते हो हर चीज में, उस दिन आप उठ जाते हो. मतलब literally मैंने उठ जाता हूँ.
So since this is about, I'll just bring it back to the agenda for the day. It's adventures, his adventures with the film trade. So I'll just ask one question and then it's open,
Ask me the tricks how to deal with things.
Yeah, so the question
I can
is
tell you from
exactly
experience
that.
how I dealt with things. Yeah.
So you've been maverick, you've been uncontrollable, you've been this guy who had an unreleased debut for the longest time. You've debut, I say. You can't have so many debuts.
I mean, the still is not released.
So how did you really navigate the trade? I mean, there's been all kinds of producers, all kinds of financiers. And
See,
they've
one thing
changed
I'll tell
over
you,
the
that's a
years.
universal truth. Actually speaking, filmmaking is an art form which is expensive because it's always built on other people's money. And somewhere we have to find a way to return the money. But you have to also understand the investors, the financiers, studios and producers. They're only corporate people, only interested in profit. They don't understand cinema. So they look for comfort. So like say for example, the new thing is Pan-India. It's like I always say Sairat, the success of Sairat destroyed Marathi cinema. So what happens is when a film earns 100 crores, everybody thinks that we can do that. So they leave all logic, everything behind and start making that. I said, ask Nagaraj. Nagaraj did not know his film will make 100 crores. He made a film he wanted to make. That film went there. You ask Rishabh Shetty, he will tell you, he don't know Kantara will become that big a hit. He made a film. Now what will happen is this pan-India thing has already started destroying. There has already been meetings in studio, in sectors, in Telugu sector, in everybody like, what are we doing? Because if there is an RRR or there is a KGF, there's also a Vikrant Runa, there's a Kabja coming, there's everything. Every film is being dubbed, redubbed. The cost is escalating and it will eventually destroy all resources. So producers and studios will always jump on a bandwagon to find the next big formula because they raise money like that. They say pan-India is a word, so if producer will want to find a way to make money, he'll go to find say hum pan-India film bana rahe, RRR bana rahe. Samne wala money man gets excited who doesn't know anything about cinema, he gives him the money. The money is gone, then they blame the person. Then somebody else gets the consequences. बाद में किसकी रेड लगती है डायरेक्टर की, ठीक है? So which is why I'm saying that's the thing you have to understand, that you're dealing with an industry that does not understand cinema and that definitely does not understand anything that's new. A new idea will be put down. It's not is universal to not just industries and studios, it's also universal to film festivals. Any new idea is scares people off. Like the entire Oscar Academy was scared of Titan, which won Palme d'Or, right? They did not know how to deal with that film. Similarly, every year you'll find some film or the other that you love so much and you'll wonder why it has got so royally ignored. And why some film, other film has got so much traction. Because you are also dealing with a lot of people who don't know how to deal with something that's very new. A voice that is so strong. The entire French film industry still does not know how to deal with the Gaspar now. It is like this. So studio mein everybody pretends, so you also pretend. I used to pretend. I've had this whole exercise on Devdi. The script has been thrown on my face many times. What is this vulgar film you're trying to make? From studios to the actresses. And then there was a meeting. They did not want to do the film. I wanted to do the film. Every time they would come and tell me, yeah, I think we'll have to shelve the film. I'll say, listen to this new song. I made Amit Trivedi compose so many new songs, and they would get excited and they would go back. And they say, yaar, ye gaana bahut acha hai. Emotional Atyachar was the last word. And then every time they would say, can we cut this out? I realized they're not going to come on my set. So I agreed to everything. I said, yeah, I'll cut this out, I'll cut that out. I went and made exactly what I wanted. And then what happens is once you have one film behind you that has given you power, I stopped sharing scripts. I developed a different method. I would write scripts sometimes. Sometimes I would improvise on the spot. But I would not share it with the studio. Condition became like every time I've given the script to the studio, with 50 different minds coming and telling you what to do, the film always goes downhill. So that's my con. That's my cheat. I would go say, agree, take responsibility, yes, but go and do the film because I know eventually when the film will come out, कुछ होगा, कुछ positive हो जाएगा. This is what happened with each film, every film. And every time when I had all the resources and all the backing, the film had 50 fathers. Then it in the end also if I've made a bad film, I would like to know that it is my failure. The problem is when you don't know whose failure it is. That's when you're confused. I want especially in cases when you fail, you want it to be your failure because you learn from it. But when everybody has made their film and it's a hodgepodge and you don't know what it is, and somebody else is taking credit for something or this or that, it doesn't matter who takes the credit for it. Suddenly it's all dumped on you and you don't know whose failure it is. And you're confused and you lock yourself in, which is why you see after big disasters, I've seen it personally, my brother made Dabang and then he made Besharam and he's not emerged from it. So I see a lot of filmmakers, when they make big flops, they don't know how to emerge from it. And which is why very third day after Bombay Alert, I was like, I went to my producer, I said, I will not tell you what the script is. I will not tell you who the actor is. How much money will you give me to make a film I want to? And he just gave me a figure. I said, no, get lost. And I made Ramanagar. So it was like I worked backwards. So that's what I learned from doing a Bombay Alert. I said, मुझे जो करना है, I have to now start working backwards. So now it became like I wanted to make a Mukkabaz and somebody wanted me to make a Manmarziyan. I said, I will make your Manmarziyan, you make Mukkabaz for me. So same film gets produced. So that's how we make deals. So, but both the films will be mine. In the sense, you have to allow me to change the music and change the cast and change everything. So those are the deals. That's how you do things. But you have to be on the front foot. It is the same as like batting in cricket. If you have self-doubt, you're bound to miss it. So you have to go out on a front foot with confidence, and then you play. Then it doesn't matter that your skill is yours, and you entirely depend on yourself.
Okay, so that's a con you play when you're Anurag Kashyap, right? But great learnings there. Failures are your own, and then there is room to grow. I'll just do a lead-up question, and then I'll give the mic. So, a lot of young filmmakers, lot of short filmmakers who want to make their first films. Having been part of the business, you've spoken a lot about the trade, but how do you go and get that first film out there, retain your voice, retain the smallness, like you always say?
This is whatever
I'm
saying you have to maximize. You have to learn to maximize. The first lesson I learned in the filmmaking is, if I don't have any money, No one gives two hoots. Audience has gone into cinema to watch a film. The film has to look like money has been spent on it. I'm not going to go to every screen to say, but I didn't have money, and hope for sympathy from them. So I had to learn to shoot well. To learn to shoot well was the most important ally to a filmmaker, his cinematographer. And there are things that you need. That's how we figured how to shoot. In the sense, a cinematographer, then the choices are based on that. Like, when I'm shooting a Black Friday and I am trying to create a period, I have to take the camera away. A cinematographer who knows how to shoot on zoom lenses. Find focus on zoom lenses. Where you can't walk up to the actor, the character, because the character is part of the street, and take measurements. You have to learn how to hide the camera. We developed tricks over the years how to shoot a film, to not make it look like low budget. So those are the skills that one has to learn. Film has to look like it has been professionally shot with everything to it. Otherwise, festivals, nobody cares about it. They'll make it so indie that it won't sell after a while. It might be a great film, but it won't sell. A lot of indies suffer because of that. Because they look like there was no budget to make that film. So when you don't have budget to make film, the film that can't bear that excuse. You have to find ways to make the film look perfect. And for that, your greatest ally is the cinematographer. And cinematographer's greatest ally is the production designer. There is no cinematography without production design. So everybody has one ally from the other to go to. And that's how, and slowly you will realize a good film gets made. And it gets made by everybody. Bad film is made by the filmmaker. Because he doesn't allow everybody to do their best. So you have to find ways. That's how we discovered to shoot during festivals. We shoot during festivals because there's so much light. If I have to shoot nights, I'll shoot during festivals. And shoot where it's the most lit up. And find ways to do it. So it's a responsibility lies with you. Yeah.
Hi. There's an interview that I saw.
Also, one more thing. Costume person.
So there's an interview where I saw, I'm not sure if it was Vicky Kaushal or Abhishek Bachchan saying that for Man Marziya, but they said you keep the camera going. Like even if they're done with the shot, they'll just look and you don't say cut, and they'll just keep going at it.
Because you get some things in that moment.
Exactly. So just if you can tell me like how often do you do that and how much has it helped you?
I don't say cut.
You never say it. But how does any other scene that you can say like this scene?
Every single scene in every single film of mine. See, I'll tell you, it comes from experience because I used to do a lot of theatre. And I was this arrogant young theatre actor who really thought no end of himself. Right? I really thought I was so damn good. And then I acted in a few movies then. And I was shit. And it really affected my sense of self. At the age of 20, 21. It really affected my sense of self. And then when I started looking back at it, and I stayed with it for so long that why is it I was so good on stage and why is it I'm so bad on screen? And those films were so bad that they didn't release, right? Barring one or two that came on television. Then I realized I was so stiff. I'm free-flowing on stage. When I'm on stage, stage belongs to me. But when I'm an actor on screen, I belong to the filmmaker. So that's when I understood that actor can only be limited by the filmmaker. And actors' boundaries can only be pushed or be limited or be allowed to flow free. For that, you have to create that space. That's when I started finding confident cameramen. My first ally was Natarajan Subramaniam. And somebody who does not lock the frame. So what cameramen used to do at a time was they would lock a frame, then light it. And then actor had to hit the spot, hit the mark, perform, look here, look that. That makes them very stiff. So I started undoing everything. I said, unlock the frame. No cinematographer would do that. So I got Nati from Delhi. He was handling news and he was shooting music videos. And he wanted to be an actor deep inside himself, which he is right now. And we started, there was no tilt pan lock. The camera would be free flowing. I would meet a cameraman. I would first check his forearm muscles, if he had strong forearm muscles or not, because you have to be away and operate the camera to be able to move it freely, right? And then I would bring in the actors and rehearse the entire scene from beginning to end. And then cameraman would come in, and then cameraman would say, "Give me so much time," and we'd all get out, and we'll sit and faff. Then the cameraman would say that, "Okay, we are ready," and then every single take I shoot is from beginning to end, the entire scene. I never shoot a single shot. एक वो रोने वाला एक close-up ले लेते हैं, एक ये ले लेते नहीं. So every single scene I shoot beginning to end. Actors are in a flow, the camera is in a flow. I just keep changing the vantage points, so that the actors' performances come out best. And which is why I've never told any actor how to perform. They always just deliver their best. They feel, and once what happens is, by the 4th or 5th day, they get so into the character, they start improvising. By 4th, 5th day, they start improvising. And by the end of it, sometimes you're doing scenes that you never wrote. And it comes from them naturally. It comes from everybody naturally. So you create a free-flowing atmosphere, and it finds its own flow. It becomes a river. And that's how it is. It all came from failing. Every learning has come from failing.
Yeah. Hi sir, I'm a big fan of you. I made Cinema Bandi because of your inspiration. So I just wanted to ask one question. Right now, I think the films after pandemic I'm talking about, the indie films or the small films are not like, we need a large scale film to have a theatrical release. Like audience are coming for a large scale films. What do you think if Gangs of Wasseypur released in this time, how people will react, how audience will come to theater? I'm talking about the scenario of a small films for a theatrical thing. What are your take on it?
Yeah, I really don't have a take on it. In the sense, I don't try to, because every time I would dwell in the past, I've only sunk. So I want to look forward. I genuinely believe there is a solution right here. I came here, first thing I wanted to know who's made this screen. I said, how much does it cost? I met him yesterday. I'm going to meet them in Bombay and have a meeting. Because that's a solution, right there. And somebody has to find this, to take this solution forward. How do you maximize on a solution like that? Somebody has spent time to create a mobile cinema that comes at a cost where you can go and do that. How do you maximize it? This is the job of the filmmaking community. It is not, उसने बना लिया अपना. You know, the biggest problem that I have faced is, I fought my battles and everybody would come to me with things. I said, मेरा काम जितना मैं किया, आगे कौन करेगा? आगे तुम करो ना. It's like that. Somebody's done this. Now, how do you maximize that? How do you take it everywhere? छोटे छोटे गांव में ला जाना तो और आसान है. किसी के खेत में जहाँ पे एक बना दो सिनेमा, खड़ा कर दो. ढूंढ लो गांव वाले इकट्ठा करके, उनको सिनेमा चाहिए अपना, इकट्ठा करें, बना के खड़ा कर दो. कितना खर्चा होता है? I just had a very small conversation yesterday. I'll have to have a larger conversation on this. But that's the solution. OTTs, see, you have to understand, everybody has a limited budget. Mobi, when it started, I'm one of the first 4 members of Mobi from 2009-10. It was launched, right? Then it had no money to give. Today also, it saves its money to give to the big competition titles that it picks up at the big festivals. Then it runs out of money. So when you come to the indie films in local countries, and that's true for all Asian countries, that's for all African countries, is they run out of money. So they have only small budget. Their intention is to show the film, but they don't have the money. And in the pandemic, all the big films started fighting for platforms, OTT platforms. So the indie cinema has lost the space. So indie cinema has to fight back to regain it. Nobody is going to come and give you that space. Everybody is profiteering from. Why should anybody give their profits to you? So you have to, the fact that you're indies, you have to always fight for and reclaim your voice, your space, your everything. It is up to you. They are doing what they promised themselves, make money. Oh, you have to do what you promise yourself. So there's nothing there. I see this as a solution. I came here, I got so happy because I came here and I saw this and I'm like, एक चीज तो मेरे को suddenly हो पाया. I said, I have been dreaming of a genre festival for a year. how do I do it? A traveling genre festival. I said, I can do it maybe. You know, there's so many things you can do. There's a solution right here. I saw a film there inside. It was perfect. So, I don't know. I think cinema will revolutionize itself. Abhi, right now, people will get, in 5 years, they'll be so bored of Marvel movies. If they're releasing 2 every week, after a while, it will become boring. The jokes will be repetitive. Everything will be gone. It will implode. Everything implodes. Abhi, what will happen is everybody will start getting a South director to make Hindi film. We will be back to the 80s. Like जो फिल्म आती थी मकसद और कौन सा मवाली, all that, हम लोग वापस वहाँ जाएंगे अभी. जब वो भी खत्म हो जाएगा, फिर वापस आएगा एक period. So just keep doing what you believe in and find ways to do what you believe in. Nobody is going to come and give it to you. थाली थोड़ी ना इतनी बेहतर थाली आके बैठ के सस्ते मिल जाएगी. उसके लिए आना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे तुमको.
Hi.
Hi.
Anurag sir, at the back here. Yeah. So my question is very simple. It's basically we all know that there is a huge political shift in the last few years that we've seen, and you know since it is quite there out there, but we're not able to even say anything against it because kuch bhi ho jata
It's happening across the world. I'll tell you the latest mail I got right now.
hai.
Right now.
Yes.
As a member of Academy. The film that's my favorite film of the year that I saw, made by an Egyptian filmmaker, which finally became a Sweden entry to Oscars, changed its name from Boy to Heaven to Cairo Conspiracy. It's the saddest news. It's just mail. Mail just came in. Because Boy from Heaven still has an implication in the religion.
Right.
So it's now called the Cairo Conspiracy. They just changed the title for the film. It's not released yet. So it's happening across the world. But still somebody made Boy from Heaven.
I agree, but when someone makes a movie like Black Friday and Paanch and such great cinema which is not released yet, and abhi tak bhi matlab Black Friday
वो time अलग था. Today I won't be able to make a Gangs of Wasseypur or Black Friday. So in today's time, it is very hard to make a Black Friday or even a Gangs of Wasseypur. You have to find ways to make what you want to make and say what you want to say, and find ways to circumvent the censor. See, it's happening everywhere. It's actually happening everywhere. You know the story of this filmmaker, the British filmmaker, who was so exhausted with the BBFC, the British Censor Board, that how he played a prank on them. He got a revenge on them. He made a film called A Paint Drying. Where there's a compulsion is that the censor board officers will have to sit through the whole film. If the filmmaker applies for it and pays for it, he called a film called Paint Drying. He actually shot a paint drying, and they had to sit and watch it. That was his revenge. So everywhere people have their own ways of getting back at people. So you have to you can't wish it away. Somebody has to either fight for it or raise their voice, or somebody gives up. Everything is okay. I say even they are okay who don't have the courage to fight back. I'm saying you can't pick on someone just because they don't fight back. You can't. You have no right to do that because people have right only over themselves.
Hi. My question is like for a rookie filmmaker who wants to make a direct political satire. वो मुझे मोदी जी को दिखाना है कि मैं उनकी पूजा कर रहा हूँ और मतलब should I put a frame कि उसमें censored करके लिखना चाहिए मुझे ऐसा करके
करो ना करो I'm saying fine करो बिल्कुल करो मैं देखूँगा मैं तो देखूँगा.
Okay, so this question is from what you just brought up, the picture time thing. So they actually are very dynamic and they travel. They have permits across the country to set up shows and ticket and everything. So my question is, again, because it's an indie space, you need censors, you need the distribution system in, you need the exhibitors in, you need the producers association in. There's so many things that you actually negotiate to get a release, including bookmyshow.com, which just refuses to put you up. I mean, we faced it during Amit.
Yeah.
So, how do you think this kind of, it's very Odessa Collective how do you think in this scenario a system, a distribution system, an exhibition system
Will be
using this
created.
can be?
It will be created because people will have no options left. See,
It's a blend, the association and
it is no everything will. I've seen this happen. I've seen everything happen. I've seen everything happen, and it happens when everything hits rock bottom. I said everybody had a problem with OTT. Pandemic hit, everybody started going to OTT. Now OTT has ignored the indie films. Now nothing is working in cinemas. Cinemas also going through a transition. Everything, it's a constant. Change is the only constant. It
With
will
the
happen.
collective.
It will happen, but it will happen with intention. If people sit at home and wait for it to happen, it's not gonna happen.
So
So
again, it's
everybody
the
has to
collective.
push. It's like how that what was that Konkani film,
Nachomia Kumpasar.
Nachonya Kumpasar. How did it recover its money? One filmmaker went and did shows of his films over the year and recovered its entire cost and made profits by showing it, screening it locally. So that's what everybody has to do. You have 3 filmmakers from Darbhanga here. Create a cinema in Darbhanga, show them. There's a whole movement of that kind in Aligarh. One, the filmmakers making films for 5 lakh rupees, making private DVDs and selling it for 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees. Like musicians, you go to LA and London, make their own recordings and sell it to you for $10. So people started making copies of their own movies, started selling it. I took my own pirated copies of Black Friday, suitcases full of it, and went to LA, went to New York, went to London, went to DVD shops and say sell it and keep the money and price it the way you want to. I don't want it. I wanted to spread my film to spread. I've done this. I'm saying that's the way you create a market. So filmmakers have to take their own films and go out there and find the community that they made the film about. And let them because there is a resonance. What is a chai shop? Chai shop is where 7 people sitting and discussing politics of the country, and there's a resonance there, right? So where this film is, whatever film you see, will have resonance in its own community for sure. And the only problem is we disregard the very audience and very resource where the film comes from. The first meeting that happened between distributors during the lockdown, the biggest grouse that when I was called on the meeting, because they said, why did the producers did not give a film like Mukkabaz as a Bhojpuri film to all the people? He says it did not release in UP. It was a UP film. How will it find its audience? If you will treat it like a Anurag Kashyap film to release only in a metro or a multiplex, it will not find its audience. This is the mistake everybody does. Where does a film like Kartikeya find its money from? It worked on single screens. In small towns, where they bought the tickets because they thought the film was about finding Dwarka. But it did not work in its own original language. But the thing is, the film will find its audience if the filmmaker really cares about the film to push in that direction. हम लोग खुश हो जाते हैं, हमारा फिल्म फेस्टिवल से लौट के इंडिया आ गया, हम वेट कर रहे हैं, कोई हमको पैसे दे दे लगे. That's where the problem is. We expect once we have gone to the festival and we've got that validation, then somebody will come in and see how great my greatness and the greatness of my film, and it will be compensated. No, it won't happen. You have to first take the film to the people it represents and let them see themselves. Let it resonate with them. Then that voice will become bigger. A Kantara would become bigger first when it really becomes bigger with the local people. When the local people started celebrating it, the film spread worldwide. Sairat, how people used to come on truckloads and Belgadis to watch to cinemas, and 5 a.m. in the morning they would watch Sairat. It resonated with its own people. And resonance is the most important thing, but the only thing what we are doing is we are locking our films in. We are locking our films in intellectual discussion rooms and not taking it out of there. That's why I never discuss movies. I just would stay in, let the movie stay in.
So really, to sum up, 2 major things that you've said right now. One, and this is for again all the filmmakers here, that you've to be entrepreneurs in certain ways.
Find producers like that.
Yeah, either find producers or do it yourself, but go move with your film and take it out there as a collective. and as individuals. And secondly, of course, I mean, I saw it during Amis because you presented it, but we released it like an Assamese film, and the
Took it to Assam first.
yeah, we took it to
No,
Assam and the community
there's
across.
this
Yeah.
somebody I know who has opened a Bhojpuri OTT platform. It's on my phone. I have it on my phone. It's a Bhojpuri OTT platform which shows for free Charlie Chaplin movies, which shows for free all the movies that are freely available. There's two guys came from FTI a long time back to me, and I randomly in a conversation I said that there are lots of films that have lost its copyright. Why don't you start by releasing those films on DVD? And they actually started a company, Enlightenment. Today they run a cinema in Bombay. It was a very casual idea, and they picked up all the films that lost the copyright. I'm saying there has to be a drive in someone. This has also come out of a drive in someone, right? So that drive is missing. And I get very tired when people come to me and says, "आप करो ना कुछ." मैं कुछ नहीं करूँगा, मेरा टाइम खत्म. अभी आप लोग का टाइम है, आप लोग करो, मेरे को रास्ता दिखाओ.
Okay, someone in front. Yeah, you for a long while.
Hi sir, I have a very simple question. Like, what inspires you to keep moving, no matter what is the atmosphere?
You're asking a question at a very wrong time. I was not inspired for last 4 years.
But still, you keep doing your stuff, right? I mean,
Something or other. It's always the movies that inspire me. I really got very motivated by the same movie you're talking about, Boy from Heaven. It's just totally, and Ali Abbasi's thing, that whole thing that happened around Holy Spider. He shot that film in Jordan. One guy shot the film in Yemen. The film is Jordan. The film is about Iran. It has actors that have fatwa against them. And the film plays at Cannes. And the actress wins the award. And the film is the entry of Denmark as the best Oscar foreign language film. And it has found an audience worldwide. So those things inspire me. Like I'm stuck thinking about it. मैं कहाँ फंसा हुआ हूँ? Modi. I need to get out of it. So I need to get out of this shit. And I've been pushing myself to get out of this shit. And not reading Twitter has helped me a lot. Because when you don't go on social media, you realize the world is a better place. So all those things, all the solutions have gone.
Philosophy आप नहीं बोलते हो ज़्यादा, but throughout your session, a lot of philosophy is coming from everywhere. So thank you for that.
Intelligence, very basic सड़क शब्द.
पर जा रहा है सर, वो आ रहा है. What I wanted to ask सर कि जब से मतलब मैं देख रहा हूँ आपकी पिक्चर है, for me and my friends, it's always been कि अनुराग सर is जुगाड़, अनुराग सर is workaround.
Everything is जुगाड़.
हाँ, तो वैसे में सर आप 3 चीज़ें ऐसे बताइए बेसिक वाली कि जो फर्स्ट टाइम फिल्म मेकर को अपना जो भी हम पिच डेक बनाते हैं या सेल करते हैं, जो सिस्टम आ गया है कि वैसे आप सेल करो, तो वो प्रोसेस में कौन सी 3 चीज़ें मतलब ऐसे वी हैव टू, जैसे एक आपने ऑलरेडी बता दी है कि वाइल पिचिंग
1 2 3 10 चीज़ें वो सब नहीं हो सकता. मैं
हाँ, तो कुछ भी आपके दिमाग में आए.
देखो, जुगाड़ के साथ सबसे जरूरी चीज़ है, जुगाड़ में किसी का नुकसान मत करो. द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग. हम लोग क्या करते हैं ना, वो जुगाड़ में किसी को हार्म कर देते ना, फिर वो आगे हमारा ही होता है. जुगाड़ में किसी का नुकसान होगा, जुगाड़ करो, बिकॉज यू शुड नो दैट इससे उसका नुकसान नहीं होने वाला है. सी आप तुम में से पानी की बॉटल ले जाओगे, मैं बोलूँगा यार तू गायब हो जाएगा, तो या कोई मेरा लाइटर ले जाएगा तो मैं बोलेगा यार तू गायब हो जाएगा, तो करेक्ट. लेकिन अगर तेरे को मालूम है कि तू लाइटर ला के वापस देगा और तूने बिना बताए लेगा निकाल के ले गया और वापस दिया, वो जुगाड़ है. करेक्ट. माइंड सिक्योरिटी इज अ प्रॉब्लम, बट यू शुड बी सिक्योर इनफ दैट यू आर नॉट डैमेजिंग. जुगाड़ में किसी का नुकसान मत करो, ठीक है. दूसरा, अवेलेबल चीज़ें बहुत सारी हैं, वो कर, वो सब पता जाएगा. मतलब हाउ डिड आई डिस्कवर दैट आई कैन शूट इन बॉम्बे? बिकॉज वी रेड द रूल्स, वी मेड द एफर्ट टू गो थ्रू द रूल्स कि कैमरा सड़क पे नहीं उतरना चाहिए. पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी पे कैमरा उतरा तो कैमरा कॉन्फिस्केट हो जाएगा. तो हम मूविंग कार में रखते थे, हम गाड़ी में छेद कर देते थे, हम बहुत सारी चीज़ें करते थे, हम सड़क पे नहीं उतारते थे. लंदन में सोहो में रूल है, हमने पूरी फिल्म शूट की है, एक बार भी कैमरा सड़क पे नहीं आया. स्टडी कैम पे रहा या कहीं रहा, लेकिन सड़क पे नहीं आया. एक पुलिस वाला ढूंढता है, पीछे घूमता है, देखे कि नहीं, सड़क पे कब लगता है, बिकॉज उसको फाइन मार सकता है, हम नहीं उतरने देते। सो बहुत सिंपल रूल, और लोग स्प्रेड आउट रहते हैं, हम लोग एंटाइटल हो जाते हैं जब शूट कर रहे होते हैं, बिकॉज इंडियंस है ना, तो हमारा सिनेमा से ऑब्सेस्ड कंट्री, हम लोग को क्या लगता है कि हम जाके बोलेंगे हम फिल्म बना रहे हैं तो सब लोग बोले क्या बात है, और हमें सब अलाउड है, जबकि ऐसा नहीं, हम बहुत एंटाइटल हो जाते हैं। तो यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल, यू कांट कॉज अ ट्रैफिक जैम, यू कांट डिसरप्ट अ वे ऑफ लाइफ। अगर आप कुछ भी शूट कर रहे हो तो सब बहुत ज़रूरी चीज़ है, किसी की दुकान चल रही है, उसके सामने शूट करने लगे, वो चिल्लाएगा ना, उसको लगता है कि तुम वो एक कस्टमर जो शायद सुबह से वो वेट कर नहीं आया, वो अभी आने वाला था। तो यू हैव टू फाइंड वेज टू नॉट डिसरप्ट देयर वे ऑफ लाइफ, यू हैव टू फाइंड वेज टू नॉट दिस, यू हैव टू फाइंड वेज टू मेक देम टू बी मोर इंक्लूसिव। आई ऑलवेज विल गो एंड से सर आपकी दुकान का एडवर्टाइजमेंट होगा, इस पिक्चर में आएगा, दुकान दिखेगी, कितनी दिखेगी, आप भी दिख सकते हो, तो वो भी एक्टर बन जाता है। हम लोग ऐसे करते थे, कई बार हम लोग चीटिंग करते थे, हम लोग वहाँ कुछ और माहौल क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, यहाँ कुछ और कर रहे हैं, अगर भीड़ हो गई तो। और कई बार हम लोग छुप के शूट करते हैं, मुक्काबाज का जो स्ट्रीट का सीन है, उसमें साउंड वाला कहाँ बैठा है, कैमरा कहाँ है, एक्टर कहाँ है, किसी एक दूसरे को इनको नहीं मालूम। इट्स नॉट अबाउट दैट। सी, अगर एक्टर को मालूम हो कैमरा कहाँ है, तो एक्टर सिर्फ कैमरा की तरफ ही देख के परफॉर्म करेगा, ठीक है। तो हम किसी को कुछ नहीं बताते कौन कहाँ है, हर इंडिविजुअल को पता होता है वो कहाँ है, बस, एंड देन वी शूट, एंड द traffic is always flowing, we never try to block the traffic, scene adapted itself to a free flowing traffic, वो गाड़ी पे मार रहा है, बार बार भाग रहा है, so that's the jugaad, not a single police complaint comes, nothing comes when you do it like that, when you are very aware of and very conscious of how to shoot on the streets, how to shoot on everything, so that's how you have to do things, and that's the kind of a jugaad, उसमें सब फिल्म बन जाती है, कुछ नहीं ऐसा नहीं बनता।
Hi Anurag, कैसे हैं आप?
मैं ठीक हूँ।
Sir, so I'm assuming you know about Sandeep Mohan, right? So according to you, what is he doing wrong?
No, nothing. It's so when you, it is simple thing. What, like I said before, getting caught in inverted commas of your own expectations of how you are an unrecognized artist, and the world owes it to you. The world owes nothing to anyone. That's where your expectation. That's why I said you have to fight for things. Everybody is waiting for a messiah to come and change the world. It's not going to happen. It's just his own expectation. I have known him from his beginning. From his very beginning. And I know how simple the person he was, but he's being so hurt with him not being given the place he should be given is also entitlement in a way. That's where he is wrong. However nice, a gentle a human being he is. That's why a lot of filmmakers feel like that. They are secretly entitled. And that's what I call the arrogance. This is why I say that you put a lot of indie filmmakers in a room, it will explode because the entitlement is the fuse, it's a bomb. That entitlement can come with a lot of kindness and a lot of humility. But more humility there is, more explosive it is. So ऐसा नहीं कि वो आके बैठ के ऐसा जो बैठता है उसको तो हैंडल करना इजी होता है, जिसका पता नहीं चलता है वो ज़्यादा डेंजरस होता है। वो उसमें ना उससे बच के रहो। संदीप मोहन का सेम रहो, ग्रेट फिल्म मेकर, ग्रेट राइटर, वेरी गुड गाय, एक्सट्रीमली एंटाइटल्ड, वेटिंग फॉर द वर्ल्ड टू रिकॉग्नाइज हिम। दैट्स इट, देयर नो अदर प्रॉब्लम।
Hi sir, hello. Very insightful session so far. Sir, can you please talk a bit about your relationship with writing? Things like what is your writing process and what are your influences and intentions behind choosing an idea to express?
It's in the moment, yeah. There's no larger great idea. Some things are triggers. Some films are triggers and some films are long gestated dream projects. So for it's like a film I've just recently written and finished shooting was a trigger to a long gestated dream project that did not take off because it got shelved. So it is like that, and rest everything is the information that you gather. You yourself become a vessel, and Messenger. So my writing process is vomiting. I just sit down and start writing non-stop. So and whatever comes out, and from there I start. It is cathartic. For me, writing is cathartic. Many a times, it is cathartic. And many a times, what has happened, I've become very conscious of it because it starts looking like each other. So all my films that has been cathartic writing, they look like each other. I've become very aware of it, and I want to get away from it. So I started using other writers' scripts. I started long back. I just started using other writers' scripts. I would sit down with them and do a rewrite of the shoot or whatever it is, but it is them who's doing it, and I would just try to give it a shape or a form during the shoot. And since then, you have seen a lot of things in my cinema changed, because everything doesn't have to be cathartic, because I also get bored of it. I also feel repetitive. So I started doing that.
Hello, sir. Sir, I had watched one of your interviews where you had said that you are able to portray darkness on screen because you have experienced that darkness in your life. So the question is that whether you need to experience everything that you show.
No.
And secondly, like whatever you experience, does it always stay with you?
No, see, experience is not just a actual physical experience. That's if that happens, it will be very spiritual, because then you really will find. Many times experience is also through books, through other people's experiences, through others, through other mediums. So it doesn't have to, nothing in the sense, I've met so many filmmakers who make so many dark films, they're all teddy bears.
Teddy bears.
Could you
Yes.
Could you share an incident coming from the first question that was asked, where you arrive at films? Could you share incidents or stories where either working on a certain character or something has changed you or made you learn something super interesting?
No, it happens a lot. It's like, I don't know, it's so for example, when I wanted to make Mukkabaz, and Anand El Rai sent me the script of Manmar and said कि आप बनाओगे ये, मैं कहा मुक्काबाज प्रोड्यूस करोगे, and they said कि आप पढ़ लो पहले बताओ मुझे. So the film I read was a comedy film about Kakka ji. It was about a marriage bureau, and there was a scene which was so powerful. I said ये लड़की का character जो रूमी ना, that's my film. So Kanika the writer, thankfully was very open. And she said, ये तो मैंने previous director के लिखी थी. I said, ये रूमी कौन है? I said, because it seems like there's something very personal element. She said, नहीं, जब मैं छोटे थे ना, then I realized it's come from a very personal space. I said, I want to make a film about Rumi. I kept pushing it. I said, I'm not making this film about Kakka ji. That's not the film I want to make. I want to make this film about this girl. And then I pushed her into her personal space too, whatever came out. Similarly, Mukkabaz. When the first draft came to me, it was a random boxing film about the way boxing is not done in India. It was like a Rocky, wannabe Rocky in India. And there was that sequence there. May I come in, sir? No, you may not. That scene was written there. And then it hit me that in India, sports people get into sports to get a government job. And when they don't get a government job, they join underworld. Most of the sportsmen. Across UP, Haryana, you will see that. I said, that's what the film is about. It's about the whole politics of sports and how everything else that seeps into it. And why do we not, the last line of the film that, we have more sports biopic than Olympic medals in India. And which is why it was, and I said, that's the film. So it sometimes, it hits the sweet spot. You're like, that's the film. That's the film. Rest everything else is bullshit. That's everything else is we are trying to do something, we are not. So there are many things like that. It happens. It's not just life changing. And then what happens is when working with Kanika and for pushing Rumi out of her, because for a writer it's also it's a courageous thing to reveal themselves. They don't do it by themselves sometimes. And she is very mainstream. She won't do that because she worked with red chilies and all that. So I had to every day sit next to her and made her reveal herself. And it comes from her, but one has to pull it out. Because those are her experiences. And through that, I understood a lot of other things. Through her, through the film, through exploring the character, in asking questions. It's like, I remember one DVD, there's a sequence where Paro comes back. When he's living in a hotel in Delhi. I didn't know how she would react. So I was like, I went and sat with my mother. And I sat and I was like, my mother wouldn't say anything. She would definitely not talk about sexuality. She would definitely not do those things. And I kept saying, asking her questions, will she go back? What will she do? And will she sleep with him? Will she not? Every time my mother was doing something, she would keep doing something. Every time she would look up, I'd say, wo karegi. That was haan. Verbally, she did not say anything. And that's how I wrote the whole scene. So because sometimes what happens, because it can't come from you. You don't know. I know exactly motives of Dev. What he would try to do. But how would Paro deal with him? And that was something that came from एक भिंडी काटने का session.
Hi. दो क्वेश्चन एक्चुअली. पहला था हाउ टू लाइक फाइंड टैलेंट लाइक एक्टर्स और ऐसे में लाइक नॉट HODs बट असिस्टेंट म्यूजिक डायरेक्टर्स प्रॉब्ली उनको कैसे लाइक हाउ स्पेशली न्यू टैलेंट लाइक जो एग्जिस्ट.
That's a very wrong thing. I'm saying you have to first find talent in yourself. That you can find people with passion and drive and use that to get things done. It doesn't need. I'm saying तुम्हारे अंदर टैलेंट है कि नहीं, सबके अंदर का बेस्ट निकालने का, और सबके अंदर बेस्ट निकालने का एक ही तरीका है. They should feel very secure with you. And they will not feel secure with you if you are not secure yourself. If you are so insecure and you are depending on them to do magic, then it's not going to happen. You make them secure, they will do magic. They'll give you magic because everyone has magic inside them.
कोई एक्चुअली फिल्म पे जब फीडबैक्स मिलते हैं तो कितना सीरियस मतलब like how much you take it and how much you follow your guts.
See, this is first line of पहले तो defense ही आता है ना. When anybody will see anything and they say I have a reason to do everything, which I obviously know. So if anybody will criticize, my first way of dealing with it is, यार लेकिन ये ऐसा था. But then what happens is, then it depends upon who's how aggressive. तो जो criticize करने वाला ज़्यादा aggressive है तो वो criticize ज़्यादा करेगा. जो अगर डिफेंड करने वाला ज़्यादा एग्रेसिव है तो क्रिटिसाइज करना बंद हो जाएगा. इसको कभी इसका क्रिटिसिज्म मिलेगा नहीं. ऐसा हो चुका है मेरे साथ बहुत बार. तो मैं कई बार छोड़ के चला जाता हूँ. पहले मैं बहुत आई वाज लाइक अ बुल, करेक्ट. सो आई वुड आल्सो बिकम लाइक सो एग्रेसिव एंड सो आर्गुमेंटेटिव एंड सो लाइक दैट पीपल वुड नॉट. सो आई फाउंड अ वे टू हैव अ वन वे क्रिटिसिज्म वेर यू हैव नो द चांस बट टू हियर इट. आई आस्क ईच वन टू जस्ट गो एंड राइट मी अ मेल, everything that they feel. Then I'm not there to defend my film, and they get to have their say, and whatever makes sense to you will stay with you. Live with it. In the night it won't solve itself. So everybody, whenever I show my films to people, they all write to me, and they write everything that they feel. It lives with me, and what makes sense I implement. What doesn't make sense I put it aside. There's no great jadoo to it. But you got to listen. But we are human beings. We are unable to listen. Especially when the criticism is very raw and fresh. You just delivered a baby and you're like, everybody's feeling and everybody's attacking me. Everybody's calling my baby ugly. And you're like, no, don't. You feel so vulnerable. So you have to find a way to do it because it is very important to hear the criticism. Even though if you don't implement anything, but it's important to hear it. And it has taken me years of time to find ways to do it. अभी भी मैं बहुत aggressive हो जाता हूँ कई बार. अभी मैं थोड़ा सा कम मतलब aggressive in arguments, not in like level, but हो जाता है. अभी भी मैं defend करना आता है मुझे. मैं तो करता रहूँगा defend. But my people also now, people who know me very well, one of them is sitting right here, Varun. लाइक दे नो हाउ टू, लाइक अभी कुछ मत बोलो इसको, अभी फिल्म अभी भी दिखाए, कुछ मत बोलो, उसे स्माइल करते हैं, जलेबी खाते हैं, चले जाते हैं। और 2 दिन के बाद 20 का मेल आता है, ये और उसके बाद मेरे को मेरी फिल्म मिलती है।
So just a few more minutes and we'll take one last question. There's a gentleman at the back who's very upset.
Yes.
Hi sir. So piracy is bad, blah blah blah, सबको पता है. But there's a
बोला मेरा पूरा करियर उस पे बेस्ड है।
There's a whole lot of incredible cinema जो किसी OTT पे नहीं है, क्योंकि OTT पे पॉपुलर फिल्म से मिलेंगी। घोड़े को जलेबी खिलाने ये कभी OTT पे नहीं आएगी।
आएगी।
Hopefully. But my question is, what do you think about film exposure that we've gotten through OTT versus torrent पे जो हमें film exposure मिला? A lot of us are here because we started watching movies through torrents.
Yeah. Well, in the sense, अभी थोड़ा सा मॉनेटरी बेनिफिट मिल गया है लोगों को। देखो जब तुम टॉरेंट पे मेरी फिल्म देखते थे वैसे जब तुम OTT पे देखते हो तब के जूते और आज का जूता देख लो। एडिबास से एडिडास पे आ गए। बेनिफिट्स होते हैं हर चीज के, जस्ट दैट जिसको जो अच्छा लगता है वो करना चाहिए। टॉरेंट सभी भी इम्पोर्टेंट है।
Hi sir, I have a question. First of all, great fan of Gangs of Wasseypur, specifically that scene when Definite is about to get killed and all the characters are going through a saga of events. And apart from that, a lot of actors complain. Some love your process of writing. They say they're still writing while the scene is about to happen. So
I went into the shoot with part 1 ka script. There's no part 2 ka script. I went into the shoot with only part 1 ka script.
Not being specific to Gangs only, in general. Does your creative instinct get strongest when you're in chaos, or
it
just
is
your
always
method?
works in chaos, and every actor changes their mindset about me after they've finished the film. then they don't find it difficult to go on other people's side. So it really works. It depends entirely on people who trust me will trust my process and they enjoy it. This is I know they will enjoy the process. मेरे set पे कभी चिल्ला चिल्ली नहीं होती. Nobody shouts at anyone. Nothing like that happens. But there is a process that works for some, doesn't work for some. I'm also dealing with somebody for whom my process doesn't work because they're new and they have a lot to lose. Generally, it works with people who are new and people who are more secure. So, big stars, my process doesn't work. It doesn't work because they're always thinking. हाँ होता है. All that is only for big stars. My process doesn't work. days. We had no other option. That was the only money we had. Budget was that I always see. You don't ask me because it's embarrassing when I say Yellow Boots is a low budget film, and उस समय उसका budget जितना था बताऊंगा उससे कम budget में यहाँ पे 4 फिल्में दिखाई जा रही हैं आज. So I am a privileged person. I get the privilege of being in the industry for a long time. My low budget can be a big budget. So don't go by my standards. You know, I get inspired by seeing films here. They have nothing. Don't go by my low budget.
So this session is almost over, and no, I can't do this. ऐसे चल रहा है. Are you planning to come back later?
I will come back to this festival again. Theater, no way.
Why?
I am bored. See, I will understand. I can't watch myself on screen. I only act like one way.
On stage.
On stage, मेरे लिए to find that time to rehearse and to find that piece of, if somebody inspires me with that piece of writing, I'll come back to stage. It's only last time I went back. Huh? Yeah. If somebody gives it to me, then I will come back because otherwise I can't. I'm not inspired enough to go back on stage, and I hate acting. Because I'm playing myself. See, it's easy to play myself, and all the interesting bits comes from Motwani and Not other guy, you know.
Okay, I've been shown the red card over there. So before we get over, this is adventures, your adventures in the film business. So what would you say is your biggest misadventure in this business?
Well, working on a massive studio with massive cost, massive. Well, this is everything that is wrong about. That can go wrong, went wrong. It's just never do that.
And your biggest adventure, your most celebrated, personal celebrated adventure that you cherish? मतलब इतने adventures के कोई तो एक होगा ना जो खास होगा.
खास was
जिसको celebrate करते हो आप और दूसरे करे ना.
celebrate नहीं करते but pet baby. I don't know what's a pet baby. No.
No, it needn't be a film. It could be something that you've done. You do so much.
I really enjoyed making love stories because it had no script. We had no script. It was one drunken conversation between me and Radhika Apte, and मैंने उसी का film बना दिया. और बिना script के everybody came on the set, and my team was waiting, and they were like, "Sir, tomorrow we are shooting. You know that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We have her location, right?" I said, "हाँ." And the script, I said, "मैं set पे सुबह जल्दी पहुँच जाऊँगा." and मैं set पे भी जल्दी नहीं पहुँचा, मेरे पास script ही नहीं थी. So we started with shooting. Radhika says, "क्या कर रहे हैं?" I said, "You love me, no?" She said, "Yeah." So you trust me? I said, "हाँ." चल तू इधर बैठ, मैं इधर बैठता हूँ, मैं सवाल पूछता हूँ तो जवाब दे. And when she started answering those questions, which are part of the film, इस फिल्म से मैंने स्क्रिप्ट निकालनी चालू की. और कई चीज़ें I told her what to say. That was, and I also found Silver on that film. And Silver is since has been my cinematographer, my greatest alive. So मतलब उसमें कुछ था नहीं, बिना स्क्रिप्ट के हम घुस गए थे उसमें.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. I'm sorry for not talking about Thank you, Anurag, for being here.
Production designers, my production designer Shazia, Iqbal. Now the filmmaker who's dumped me and left me to suffer